What's going on, everybody? This is Living in Arizona Now, and today we are going to tackle a video by popular demand: Phoenix versus Tucson. Let's get into it. All right, so the first thing to talk about is the name origins of both towns. Tucson, known as the Old Pueblo, it actually gets its name because back in the early 1900s, snowbirds came here and they were trying to draw a contrast between the Spaniards and the native indigenous people, the Tohono O'odham, who originally named Tucson Tucson. And that actually has its name because it's the dark side of the big mountain. So at the base of the Catalina Mountains is where the old Tohono O'odham civilization existed along the river. Phoenix, for example, it gets its name Phoenix because it's like a firebird that rises from the ashes of the old civilization that the Ho'okamm people had previously. In Phoenix, there was a canal system that connected from the Salt River, which also has the Verde River pour into it, and the people, the Ho'okamm people, were using the canal systems. And when the Mormons and the other settlers arrived in Phoenix, they actually tapped into those old canal systems, and that's where the name was suggested to call it Phoenix, the city that rises from the ashes. All right, so the next subject, let's talk about the modern day inhabitants, okay? Phoenix is a city of 1.7 million people. If you include the entire metropolitan population of Phoenix, it's over 4.5 million. Tucson's pushing 1 million in terms of metro area, and if you just include the city of Tucson, it's about 570,000 as of most recent census data. So Phoenix is 3 times larger than Tucson. Let's talk about cost of living and how these two compare. So Phoenix, overall, in the metro area, more expensive than Tucson. For example, in the 2020 census data, or in the housing data, a home in the Tucson area was just under 200,000, whereas Phoenix was pushing 250. So Phoenix in 2020 was more expensive, and in case you guys didn't know, housing prices all across the nation have gone up, and that includes Arizona. About 30% in the Phoenix metro area are pushing 300,000, and in Tucson they're pushing probably 240 to 250 for a reasonable average median home price. In terms of apartments, you're gonna find cheaper apartments in Tucson than in Phoenix metro, but there are exceptions to the rule. For example, the Catalina foothills or Oro Valley area around Tucson, more expensive than downtown in the city of Tucson. And in Phoenix, you're gonna have cheaper areas like West Phoenix or Glendale, where you're also going to have more expensive areas like Paradise Valley and Scottsdale. So there are exceptions to the rule, but generally speaking, Phoenix is more expensive than Tucson for cost of living overall. And another big difference is the climate. So Tucson is considerably cooler than Phoenix. They're both a part of the Sonoran Desert. In fact, most of the Sonoran Desert is in the southern part of Arizona around Tucson. But Tucson's elevation is around 2,300 feet. Phoenix elevation is around just under 1,100 feet. Now, sitting at the base of Mount Lemmon is where Tucson sits. You can get alpine terrain really quickly by going up Mount Lemmon, whereas in Phoenix, we have tall mountains. We have South Mountain, we have the McDowell Mountains, but you can't really get that snow-capped mountain that you would get in Tucson. So let's talk about the location of each city. Tucson is definitely more towards the south in Pima County. Phoenix is more in the middle in Maricopa County. In between the two city areas is Pinal County. So Phoenix being centrally located is probably more convenient for people who like to travel around because of its proximity, including its airport, Sky Harbor. The Tucson International Airport works, it's functional, but it's nothing like Sky Harbor International Airport in Phoenix. Yeah, so let's compare jobs in Phoenix and Tucson. So Phoenix definitely has more of a job economy. You have the Silicon Valley companies reestablishing here. You have Google and Apple building factories here. You have a Boeing headquarters, semiconductors, all in Phoenix. Tucson's more built around healthcare, and it's also built around the aerospace industry. As you know, we have a big Air Force base down in Tucson, Davis-Monthan. A lot of people in Tucson, they really truly live off of their retirement. It's a retirement community. The people living up in the Catalina foothills, they're not usually generating their wealth out of Tucson, whereas that could be the case in Phoenix. So job market much stronger in Phoenix than it is in Tucson. Doesn't mean Tucson's got a poor economy, just nowhere near where Phoenix is. So what are things to do in terms of nightlife and activities? I would say Phoenix is more of a younger city, whereas Tucson has an older population, although Phoenix is known for the 55 and older retirement communities. Now, they do have two different universities, University of Arizona Wildcats in Tucson, and you have the Arizona State Sun Devils in Tempe, which is in the Phoenix metro area. Arizona State, that's actually known as a party school. Tucson's known more for its astronomy research and engineering. You're gonna probably find a lot more party activity in Phoenix. Okay, so when we talk about outdoor activities, the hiking, right? The great thing about Tucson is it has such an amazing Sonoran desert right outside of your door, basically. I mean, in Tucson, you're gonna get mountain lions, javelinas, coyotes coming into your backyard. Sure, in Phoenix Metro, you'll find that, but nothing like you would find in Tucson, the coatimundes and the birds. So I would say overall, the hiking in and around Tucson is probably better than Phoenix. Although we have our fair share of great hikes in Phoenix, Tucson probably hasn't beat because of the Catalina Mountains, Tanque Verde, the whole thing all around there. To the south, you have Madera Canyon, all within a close proximity of Tucson. But where Phoenix also kind of recaptures the moment is its close proximity to northern Arizona. That means Flagstaff, Sedona, Show Low, Payson, the Mogollon Rim. That's kind of where Phoenix kind of recaptures itself. I would also say there's better lakes around the Phoenix area than there are in Tucson. There are some lakes near Tucson, but not like they are around Phoenix. So it just depends on what you're into. But overall, I would say the desert in Tucson, more beautiful than Phoenix, just because it's a little bit more lush, a little bit higher elevation. It gives it that edge when it comes to hiking. All right, let's get into the nitty gritty about safety and crime rates. No one really wants to talk about this, but then at the end of the day, they really do. I would say they're very comparable. There are certain areas of Phoenix where you'll feel completely safe, and there are places in Tucson where you will feel completely safe. There are also places in Phoenix where it's dangerous, such as the southwest side of Phoenix, and that's where it gets a little bit more iffy, so to speak, on the west side of Phoenix. In Tucson, it's going to be more of the South Tucson area. So there are areas that are totally safe in Tucson, and there's areas that are totally safe in Phoenix, and then the inverse, the vice versa side of that would be danger. But I would say overall, both are relatively safe cities. One subject that you keep hearing about all the time is water scarcity. Who's got the water? Where's the water coming from? In Tucson, they rely on the Colorado River water as well as groundwater aquifers. It'll be interesting to see what Tucson comes up with as the population continues to expand. But Phoenix, being that it's so far ahead in terms of population growth, it's already had an opportunity to figure that out, and they've used reservoirs along the Salt River, which is known as the Salt River Project. They also pull off of the Colorado River, and they also have groundwater aquifers. Water scarcity issue, it is a big thing. Tucson, Phoenix, where do they get the water? I would say that Phoenix probably has a more sustainable plan as long as it keeps snowing and raining up in the White Mountains and the Rocky Mountains. Let's touch back on the history idea of what's going on. So in Tucson, they had the De Anza Trail. And as you remember, it's called the Old Pueblo. Well, it could literally be called the Old Pueblo because of San Javier del Bac, which is actually north of another one in Tumacari, just south of Tubac. But those two missions down there along the De Anza Trail, and just outside of Tucson, it curves through towards Gila Bend, which is actually connects with Camino Real. Whereas in Phoenix, the history is more based around farming, cotton and citrus. Also, the Spanish didn't really go up into Phoenix because they kind of curved around the Gila Bend, which was a part of the Gila River. Now let's talk about the politics, the subject that everyone really hates to talk about, but then again, they also talk about it more than anything on this channel in the comment. When it comes to the politics, for those of you who are mostly concerned with that, because it seems like a lot of you are, Tucson is known as a blue area, which means they typically vote Liberal Democrat. Phoenix more known to vote red conservative Republican. So if that's something that matters to you, you'll find more birds of the same feather, depending on what color or what direction you're leaning. Yeah, and Arizona actually gets its name from two different sources, but no exact reasoning. Arizonac, which was a spring river in northern Sonora, Mexico, and they actually referred to the area as like a fertile area. And the other name possibly comes from a Spanish or a Portuguese word, but more than likely it comes from a native To'ona O'odham word or a Ho'okam kind of word, like a native indigenous dialect. So in summary, here's what I would say. If you want to build a home in the desert and immerse yourself in the desert, Tucson, probably the place to be. You're going to get a little bit better pricing and you're going to get more of that Sonoran desert feel. Whereas if you try to do that in Scottsdale around Pinnacle Peak or DC Ranch, you're not going to see the wildlife coming into your backyard like you would in Tucson, and you're going to pay more. But if you want that all around world-class city kind of feel, I would say Phoenix is going to give that to you. Okay, another thing that I would mention is Tucson doesn't have a freeway system like Phoenix has. Phoenix has the Loop 101, the Loop 202, the Loop 303, Highway 60. All Tucson has is I-10. So getting around Tucson on surface streets versus getting around Phoenix, it depends on ease of access. I would say those things could be something to pay attention to in terms of transportation. But that's my breakdown. I would say Tucson more relaxing, Phoenix definitely more high pace, more vibrant than Tucson. So to each their own, depending on what you look forward to. I would say older people would be more inclined to prefer a place like Tucson. When I say older people, people over 35. Younger people under 35 probably are going to lean more towards the Phoenix metro area. And if you're new to this channel, like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Yeah, let us know what you think about Tucson and Phoenix.